The Kansas City Chiefs entered the 2021 season as the unquestioned kings of the American Football Conference. It tends to happen when you've made it to 3 straight AFC Championship games, 2 straight Super Bowls. You were the Super Bowl champions at the end of the 2019 season. You've got arguably the best young quarterback in the National Football League in Patrick Mahomes, a Hall of Fame head coach in Andy Reid, 2 elite weapons on offense at their position in wide receiver Tyreek Hill and tight end Travis Kelce. So, going into the season that the Chiefs are the team to beat in the AFC. Like, everybody's going to be pointing at them. Everybody's going to be pining for them. Everybody's going to be aiming to beat them. That the Chiefs were going to have a very tough road ahead of them if they expected to get back in the position to make it to a 3rd straight Super Bowl, try to win their 2nd Super Bowl in the Reid-Mahomes era. And the early returns certainly weren't very promising for this 2021 Kansas City Chiefs team. They started off 3-4. You had the early losses to Baltimore, the Chargers, the Bills, the Titans, and at that point in time in the season especially, that was really concerning because Mahomes was making a lot of mistakes. The offense wasn't exactly clicking. The defense was getting shredded. Not to mention the fact, when you just look at it from a playoff positioning standpoint, you're losing to 4 AFC teams in that stretch that you envision might make the playoffs, and if so, could have tiebreakers over the Chiefs. Talk about the Ravens, the Chargers, the Bills, the Titans. And then beyond all of that, you're looking at some of these teams, especially the Ravens, the Bills, the Titans. A bit of a mental thing there about being able to beat this team in the playoffs. These were huge wins for these teams. Even the early season win by the Chargers like that should have been a huge springboard for them to say, we have the confidence that we can beat the Chiefs. We could be better than the Chiefs. So it wasn't really looking all that good for the Chiefs. Like, if you'd have told me after the 3-4 start, it's easy to say, well, they'll figure it out and they'll get it going because they're just too damn good. Eventually something will go well. Not going to believe that, and I certainly believe that myself. But if you had come to me and said, this Chiefs team looks like shit, Mahomes is kind of playing like doo-doo, their offense isn't the same, their defense is really bad, this team might miss the damn playoffs. At that point in time, that didn't sound that crazy. Because their offense really didn't get rolling until after that bye week. And they really didn't find, I think, their full momentum until later on in the season. Their defense started to play a bit better, that's for sure. But when it all came to pass, there were the Kansas City Chiefs atop the AFC West. Unfortunately for them, they did win that game against the Bengals in Week 17, which was big because it meant that they didn't have home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. They didn't get the first round bye. But in the grand scheme of things, how much did that really matter? Because once they got to the playoffs, they cakewalked past Big Ben and the Steelers in the wild card round, to the surprise of probably absolutely nobody. And then you got to that divisional round matchup. And man, what an all-time classic this was. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. That game was phenomenal. And the way they were going tit for tat and coming back at each other. And, the Chiefs were this close to having their reign atop the AFC end there. You basically had 13 seconds left, and, the whole line that Andy Reid told Patrick Mahomes reportedly is like, it's looking grim. He said, then go be the Grim Reaper. That's badass. But the fact the Chiefs were able to get, and that's what's so hard about the Kansas City Chiefs, is even when they're making mistakes, even when they're not playing very well, you always have to worry about the fact of they're this close to turning it on, and they can put up a shit ton of points in a freaking hurry. Because they are a team that plays off the momentum as much as anything else. And they got past the Bills. And then you look at the AFC Championship game, and in the first half, they looked like they were about to beat the brakes off of the Bengals. They're about to send them back home with their tails between their legs to Cincinnati. There they were, deep in Cincinnati territory right before the half. They're already up 21-10. Worst case scenario, come out of that spot with 3 points, go up 24-10. Instead, Mahomes makes a really dumb dick decision there at the end of the half and throws it behind the line of scrimmage out wide to Tyreek Hill, who, of course, doesn't get into the end zone. So instead of throwing to the end zone and maybe making it a 28-10 game, which at that point in time would have felt almost insurmountable for the Bengals, you go into the half, you're only up 21-10. still a 2-score game, yes, but the Bengals got to feel some type of momentum saying, we played like shit in this first half, and we still got a chance. And man, it was a different game entirely in the second half. Like, it's amazing the Chiefs were able to recover to get the Harrison Butker kick to even force overtime, where Evan McPherson ultimately won the thing in overtime and sent the Bengals to the Super Bowl. But it felt like, for the Chiefs, like, I look at that play at the end of the first half is just bad mistakes, bad decisions at bad moments were the difference for this Kansas City Chiefs team in 2021. Because for all intents and purposes, they should have been able to go to their third straight Super Bowl. And once they got there, man, that would have been fantastic to see them play the Rams, that's for sure. Now, offensively, like I said, statistically, they don't look so bad. They were third in total yards, fourth in total points scored, Patrick Mahomes put up big numbers. You have like 4,800 passing yards, something like that, but certainly wasn't the best we've seen out of him. You know, high number of interceptions, some fumbles. Defensively, they were towards the bottom of the league in yards allowed and sacks, but top 10 in the league in points allowed per game. So they were finding ways against teams to minimize the damage, which is nice, but sometimes you need to be more stout and you need to be able to make more big defensive plays happen. But no surprise that the Chiefs got into this spot and fell a little short. Now you go into this offseason, a team that had been the standard bearers of the AFC, now it feels like the door's kicked open a little bit. They're up against the salary cap. What are they going to do with somebody like a Frank Clark and his $26+ million salary? They're going to cut him, or they're going to try and restructure, trade him. What are they going to do? Got a number of free agents that you got to think about here. Tyrann Mathieu, Anthony Hitchens, Jarran Reed, Melvin Ingram, Charvarius Ward, Darrell Williams, Byron Pringle. Like, there's a bunch of Marcus Robinson. They've got a bunch of guys. They're already up against the salary cap. What are you going to do? And then on top of that, you look at them. One thing I'll give this team a lot of credit for is they really rebuilt that offensive line to a high degree in 2021. But the one weakness they have is right tackle. They got to improve that right tackle spot. You brought in Orlando Brown Jr. He's your left tackle now. Now you got to find somebody young that can man that right side. And then you look at him defensively, certainly could use another edge rusher, especially if you're not going to bring Frank Clark back, but even if you do. And then I look at that offense, frankly, and I say, you know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams, I don't know, man. Like, they could use a back with more speed in that offense. Then I look at the tight end position and say Travis Kelce's like 32, 33 years old, something like that. How much longer is he going to play at a high level of what you would expect him to do in this Kansas City offense? Might be time to start thinking about the future there. Wide receiver. You know, you can always look for an upgrade opposite of Tyreek Hill. So as much as I would say, well, you want to invest in the defense if you're the Chiefs this offseason, especially when it comes to the draft, you probably want to invest in the offense. Because at the end of the day, that's where the difference is made. You know, their defense in theory was good enough to win this year. Wasn't great, but it was good enough, especially with that offense. But when you make bad decisions in bad spots, bad play calling, you know, you're going to end up falling a little bit short. So be interested to see how much transition there is for the Chiefs going into this offseason.